kumi bina bye watunze bw'obitwala ewa sheeke tezivaayo afuga nti Miracle gye nakkoledde sente zino zisigale wano ne box eno gitwale sente zolese wano ojja kusangamu 3 times kati oyo sheeke muyina pasita mbalina bonna amasibuga. This contains 400 telephone with your photos and audio and audio. It is 400 telephone numbers. Some are policemen, some are police officers who have been involved in this racket. Some are prominent sheikhs, some are prominent pastors. I have not come across a priest, a Catholic priest, but the most common, the sheikhs.
And pastors.
And they have a network. They have been operating at Petrol City in Chengera. They have closed the petrol station after hearing that I'm after them. The sheikh is on the run, but I have his photo. Let us, you people, collect all of you, make your statements, the agreement, the statement, your efforts to recover your money from the police. We shall submit this to the president because currently the president has an investigative team. This will embarrass the police. It will help to embarrass the religious leaders. It will help us to expose the racket. I diminish, dismantle the racket of women killers. I dismantled the racket of organizers, extraction selling, and I've dismantled this one. Njimaze ate wange tebayinza kuba yosimu kati batiisa bali ne munakola nedda haji sheikh ring mine kube yange nakitege ekyengera ne mugamba omusajja nti kikubiro kigaye nti olina sente nekireeta oguto gwacho nengu kyadduse ekyengera kidduka mwegendereze nnyo omusajja sheikh yeeyita sheikh agenda pangisa amayumba ye talina nyumba talina permanent location olumala okubba naweereza bakazi be. All of this is communicated here. I've dismantled it. And many people, the victims are coming to me with the testimonies. They went to the police. They were not.
Waliyo n'abatannakitegeera n'abakitegedde kati nabo bajje bajje
to embarrassing police, to embarrassing good. Do you know nti after this embarrassment of the Endeavour Church, Namirembe is battling out with another man. They sold the land near Namirembe Cathedral. Luwalira is in trouble. It was sold by the other archbishop, the retired archbishop. Kunamirembe kwenyini banna. Naye bannange kiki ekiri mu Anglikani Church? Yesu najja kati. Yesu bw'ajja kati asobola okumwaniriza Namirembe Nakasero Luwalira. Naye abasajja bonna amagandula gasigaddemu bwebuuba. Wano olaba awemmengo ettaka eririko ekibaati era batunzeewo ab'e Namirembe balina ekikampuni ekiringa Buganda Land Board kiri Nakasero. They are battling with the businessmen. Bannange Cathedral show lwaki Cathedral ya Namirembe Museveni tatuyamba n'agigazeetinga n'erimu okutundibwa kuba Luwalira n'amala apaawo ejja kutundibwa. Bannange nga tulabye nga tujjizwa lumbe ekiruno olutuvudde ennyuma kubanga olumbe lw'ennyuma luba lubi nnyo. Olumbe olutuvudde mu bannaddiini olumbe oluvudde mu bamaseeka ne balya laba zino swaitani
kali buli omu atunda
kakati ono sheeki zezi swaitani Allah zasibira mu ggulu mu kisiibo n'azitanga kiwedde eno swaitani yennyini ate obusajja bwange nadde mutidde nga nti ayina amagini bwamukebedde ne mubufungula ne mu mpale kubanga fe abalina eddogo eryo ery'amaanyi olina okuba n'omusale ewantu olina okuba n'omusale kwekizoozi sheeke talina obusajja bwamufungudde ne buŋŋamba nti oyo mubalogo talina musale kwekizoozi. Nabo balina ennyota omulogo w'amaanyi ennyo nga motolo zaffe ezo abasajja batambalanga bange nti omulogo w'amaanyi ennyo alina okuba n'omusale kwekizoozi. Bafungudde sheeke nga yeebase talina musale gwonna kwekizoozi. Sheeke appa bubbi bantu tuwuliziganye
baguteekako batyo ogwo gunsobedde.
Situation that we are all looking at. And I have to tell you the truth that certain things we are just ignored the same way you normally know how things are ignored. And that is where we are right now. Okay, so what do you think could be done in the shortest notice, because we need to reorganize ourselves and have a better way forward? There is literally nothing you can do. Because the first thing is, if His Excellency chose that is the path he's going to take, then who else can oppose the fountain of honor? We all just have to follow and we get moving. That is the only thing we can do. You see, all these mistakes have been accumulating and we have been watching on. Everybody has contributed to our own downfall. Much as you have been telling me that it is Tamale Mirundi who has been fomenting this conflict, who has been fomenting this trouble for you, and that each and everything is because of Tamale Mirundi. But I'm personally realizing there are several mistakes we have personally done on an individual basis. And it starts with the most high-ranking officials. In the fellowship, they're the people who have killed it. Because if there's a lot of impunity, there is a lot of sectarianism, there is a lot of, boastfulness and arrogance. It normally runs to that extent, and you cannot correct it. You work the mistakes when you actually don't realize that you're working the mistakes. You are boosting them. At the end of the day, by the time they show up, they are swallowing you. So it is our own pride that has swallowed us. It is not the works of Tamale Mirundi. I normally tell you that. It is not the works of Tamale Mirundi. It is mainly our only subterfuge that was allowed to grow and exhibit the signs and the symptoms. Everybody could see. Any political analyst could see. Any serious military intelligence officer, anybody who is very conversant with the political intelligence would all see that there is a growing subterfuge. I think His Excellency, wise as he is, he could allow it. Let me tell you, Tamale Mirundi was just a catalyst, was just fuel added on dry wood, just to quicken the burning of the wood. But he's not the cause of the ignition. No. It is our own mistakes that graduated into that situation. Only if you understand. No, that is very true. You see, Professor is going to be here in the next few minutes, and we had earlier discussed about those things. I personally had an idea that even Tamale Mirundi himself was given this capability to be able to unveil this kind of information, to just enhance. Or else His Excellency was getting this information and he then brought in a flamboyant person who could broadly speak it out. So that is the whole thing that we are faced with. It is serious trouble, I have to tell you, because our colleagues made wrong decisions, much as we tried to advise them. Especially the professor was telling them that the best way to handle the situation we are in is to remain online. If we are taking political lines, then they should work on a supportive basis to the NRM, but not creating a divergent political section. Secondly, if you are going to follow the economics and the business and then the financial strengthening, then we take that line, but we have to be very calculative and very careful to ensure that we are not making grave mistakes that are going to be widely known as corruption scandals. Now the whole thing started to stray when COVID-19 came in the picture. It destroyed almost everything because everyone became greedy. Everybody decided to concentrate on their own private project, and the teamwork totally was dismantled, completely disintegrated, and it remained individual for themselves. Every individual stood on their own. Now everything is destroyed. Everything went on the rampage. It became totally uncontrollable and unconcealable. And His Excellency was able to detect each and everything, and it became, actually he was forced to react. And there was no way he could not react. Now this confusion that came up really, everybody tried to clutch for a handhold. Some people went to Kaka, others were running to Nakarema, others tried to run to the first son, a majority ran to Uncle Sam. And now the pulling of ropes brought a lot of problems, which you all know. Exactly, we know each and every problem that came up. And it is, you see, when you look at how people behave these days, it is something like the I don't care attitude is all over the place. Everybody says I don't care what will be done. Nothing can be done against me. So it is like everybody is like, let me do this, whoever bothers, whoever cares should go on the hang. That kind of attitude really is very bad, because it exhibits extreme arrogance, and this kind of arrogance is very deadly and very dangerous. To the arrogant fellow and those who are mistreated, at the end of the day, it attracts counteraction that is very destructive, that it can lead to grave consequences. So these are some of the things we need to look at as a team, really. I don't support the idea that you're going to disintegrate completely, because this kind of disintegration is going to bring very, very, very crude internal contradictions, internal conflicts that are going to lead to actually a very, very powerful conflict from within. You're going to start seeing families splitting, fighting against families. We are going to see marriages breaking up. You see how members of the fellowship have been networking, social networking their son to marry. It is going to become a very serious conflict. The moment you allow this to split, let me tell you, it is like unchaining stray dogs. It means they're going to be dangerous to everyone, including human beings. So at the end of the day, we are going to have grave consequences bouncing back to us. So me, I would advise, instead of going down to break down the fellowship the way you plan to do it, I agree with what His Excellency is suggesting, that you people have been bad enough, now time to be good. Have changed my name because I totally want to change the attitude. I don't want to regret the previous things. Now I want to boast of the new things that I'm going to do for Uganda. So that name, Tibuaburwa, is that I'm not corrected. So he's aware he has made several mistakes and nobody has corrected him. Now he's going to do several things and he doesn't need advice from the people who never advised him rightly. Those who have wronged each and everything. So he's now going to work for Uganda. He's not going to work for anybody. He's not going to close one eye to protect anyone because they're members of the first family, because they're members of the relatives of the first family, because they are cronies of the first family. So he's telling you, I'm not going to correct it. The Baganda said, Swaburwa. So that is how it is going to be. So what does this imply? That we have to be extremely very careful, whatever steps you are going to take, because I believe if the fellowship splits, it won't stop. Actually, it is going to unchain the vice. The vice is going to multiply in 5 folds. Professors have been working hard. Chairman, you have been working very, very, very hard, extremely very hard to pass on information, to correct the mistakes, and most of the information and the strategies professors been doing with you, they have been preemptive. They have been preempting the troubles. They have been actually putting things right. They have been preparing the ground to do the unfair operations and to get the fair results. So imagine that kind of processing. You people, you are the factory and the purifiers who have totally worked towards minimizing the negative effects of corruption, of theft, of looting in this country. And we believe nearly all governments root. All members of government find advantage to earn, but the whole thing ends up bouncing back. It is a boomerang. It flies back. Sometimes it is a double-edged sword. As you cut the other side, this side is also cutting you. So those are some of the things we need to realize. As we are going to move forward, really, I believe if we sit together and at least we remain with that string that connects with these people, it is a taming string. It is like a chain in the dog's neck. It helps to control, to tame it from charging against anybody who comes around. Otherwise, if we unchain them, they are not going to stop the vice, and the device is going to have a very, very powerful negative impact to the extent that if His Excellency doesn't take action, and the drastic action, the government can collapse. Because corruption is going to be very open, not scientific at all. But we have been sitting down and plan that we toss off before even the project takes off. We toss off in the process, not at the end user. Because at the end user, it brings miscalculations and they feel the conflicts. So, really, we have to think about that. We have to think about that. I really need to talk to the professor about this same thing.
No, professor is on the way. He's going to be here in just a split seconds. I believe he has arrived already. He could be doing something down there. But he's coming. That one, certainly, I'm sure.
But we really need to think about this. Let me tell you, we should not sit. You should not just sit down and lean back. No. Neither should we stand and stare. No, we should stand and walk. We should sit and write something and craft something. We should sit with working brains. Let us not relax at all. I'm really advising you, let us not mislead ourselves into this. The fellowship cannot stop, neither can it change, adjust the agenda suddenly. It has to be a gradual process. So we need to block certain projects because you have to be knowing that most of our elders, most of our seniors have no idea how to make money. They have rested in privilege almost forever. 30 years in privilege is not a simple thing. Somebody cannot be privileged for 30 years and you tell them that on the 40th year they start to work. To work on what? They have been used to freebies. They don't know how to buy fuel. They don't know how to pay for electricity. They don't know how to buy a time. They don't know how to go shopping from savings. They really don't know that. Every projection that comes in their mind, they look for where to source the money. And the money has been coming from the public coffers. That is what they are used to. Can they work? So that simply means we have to work very hard to ensure that we sustain this government in power. That is number one. Secondly, we have to make sure that our activities do not threaten the existence of the government. Then thirdly, we have to ensure that whatever activities we do don't dent the president. Because when the president is dented negatively, he's going to react. And when they react this time, he's the Titibuaburua. He's not the simple Museveni, the simple Kaguta, you know. He has totally changed. He's looking at his rest hours. He has to control the legacy and preserve it. So don't expect him to simply look at you and smile away, or simply to tell you that you're a stupid man. You leave my sight, and that is the only punishment he's going to give. This time he's going to turn against each and everyone. Just see how he has done to the son in Europe. What kind of business? How much? Actually, if all the wings have been trimmed off, and now the guy cannot fly, he can only walk. He can no longer fly. So what does that imply? That nobody is going to be spared. Nobody is going to be spared. That guy has his Excellency's biological grandchildren. So you cannot joke around with it. Look at how Muhoozi is operating his businesses. You get it? Everything is moving on very well. Very, very well. But he avoids the public. You get it? At least when his friends sometimes misbehave, right? Like Hamis Chigundu, he normally calls them and says, no, there you have gone so much. You get it? Why would he be appearing in the media at this moment? Why would Hamis Chigudu be appearing in the media? Because he's creating a shield for something, really. So let us understand how these things are operated. So do not allow these people to go. I'm just requesting you, do not allow these people to you don't leave them to stray. No, they are not good people. They are very powerful, they have all the authority, well positioned, and they have the command of the wealth. But they have accumulated it primitively. Because you accumulate something you even don't know how to use. It is like seizing a gold mine when you even don't know where to sell the gold. Why would you seize the mine? Then you simply say, okay, since I have this gold mine, let us make bricks to build my wall from gold. So you have a golden house. Just because you don't know the better value of what gold can give you. That can give you 1,000 houses and billions of dollars. So that is the same way these people, they have the wealth, but they don't know the actual value because of the way they accumulated it. It was out of total primitivism. So they need to be guided. They really need to be guided.
You are very right. I actually support you for that. And I really thank you very much. So you have totally shared the right. And actually, if we can share that idea with you, the ideas you have fronted with the professor, I think it is going to be a very productive day. If we begin our Monday that way, it is going to be a very great step forward. And I think there arrives the professor. So, Professor, you are so welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. So how is the going? Is everyone okay here?
We are very okay.
No, Professor, we are very fine. So how is the going? I'm also well. So how is the health? How is your health? Because the last time you met, you were not doing it that well. Though you were so promising, I looked after a very powerful and a very strong professor. So how are you feeling today? I'm simply very okay. That one, I have to assure you, I'm very okay. Very healthy. Actually, yesterday I went through a medical treatment, a medical checkup, a thorough one. And no fault was found in my health. Now all of my records are very, very, very clear. Very well and promising. So, how was your Sunday? No, the Sunday was okay.
Mine as well was very fine.
Then that's good. You see, I had a meeting with my colleague, from Buziga, in Makinde there. Having met His Excellency on Saturday night, there were several things that we talked about. The first thing, Narim and this regime have been rooted from the fellowship. All rights have been generated here. All deceptions have been generated here. All misdirections have been authored by members of the fellowship. All great corruption scandals have been managed here. All political conflicts have all been brewed from here. So he really talked of so many things, and he said he's giving us just one more chance to alter the agenda of the fellowship. It is something he had said earlier, but was just re-emphasizing it. And I really listened to it all. And there was a special message to me, particularly, that I should not overrun my relevance. I should do it for the good of the country, for the good of the NRM, and for the good of the Fountain of Honor. Something I deliberately agree with and ready to work with. So I needed to share your ideas. How are we going to turn the entire fellowship into a think tank. And how easy can that be? Really, personally, I don't believe in that. I know it is not going to happen. Let me tell you, Professor, there are several things that you can do personally and you, Victor. But it is all graced, or it is all embroiled in the external environment. The external environment can squeeze you to do something that the internal environment cannot do. The internal environment is about self-discipline. The internal environment is about self-regulation. The internal environment is about self-management, including resilience, including anger management, including emotional maturity and intelligence. Including self-rebuilding and self-consolation. That is the internal environment. Now, most of these people have a robust internal environment. Inside them, their spirit and the soul has been used to overriding each and every one. So the internal environment overrides them and dominates the external environment. This is the reason why they feel they are very untouchable. Those people in the high ranks, being very close to the first family, they think nothing can touch them. So they don't care about the external environment. That even a warning like that, if it is not said to them from the mouth of His Excellency himself, it cannot move them at all. Now, Professor, even me personally, I cannot go and talk to these people and tell them His Excellency was it. They will say, who the hell are you? You mean I can't talk to him? He will tell you a few hours ago, I talked to him, why didn't you tell me something? It is your own craft that you're trying to tell me to confuse me. So, they cannot be shaped by the external environment. Because they feel they're very robust and galvanized with authority and power. So to me, those new ideas are not going to work with them because they are prone to what they are doing. They can never stop it. So that simply needs to be understood. They will never change. For us, we can change here at our middle ranks. We can totally change and have something very new. But at the same time, these people, they have been used to bulldozing all the environment around them. They will go, cause trouble somewhere, and they will drag us there by force. They will tell you, you have to do this. Then we go in a very disorganized sea, where we cannot survive, and we end up harvested by the storms. These people will create the storm and run for shelter, and they leave us in the open. Because we all know this is what they're used to doing. So personally, Professor, really, that is a very, very, very logical and purposeful idea. But implementing it is next to impossible. These people are very, very, very used to feeding themselves and thumping everyone else outside their internal self. So that is the major problem. So what do we do? Because that is something was said the last time in the meeting, that these people cannot change. They cannot change. Because for decades, they have been the rulers. Then you cannot tell them to cow down. They will see it as degrading them and downtroddening them. Something they may never take for serious. So there is a bit of a task that needs to be done. But anyhow, we should not just stand and fold our hands. We should try, as we also think about other alternatives.
Professor, that is exactly what I also wanted to suggest. That yes, they are not going to accept. Then let us first do it so that they don't accept. Then we shall be comfortable that they have not accepted, but we have tried. Then we resort to other means. But meanwhile, as we were to try that, there should be option A, B, C, and D. That is what I think.
Yeah, I think that would be very important. How do you see that too? it is okay to try. You see, I cannot stop anyone from trying. Even me personally, I would try, and then I get well conversant that yes, I've tried. Whatever the results come out, I will say yes, I tried, but this is what I got. Yes, I also support we try. We shouldn't just sit back and look on. We should. Trying is not an option to discuss. It is mandatory. Let us move in and do that. Okay, then that is good. Now, we are going to try that. But we are expecting least results. Okay? So we are going to drag them into something they are not going to agree with. But at least let us take the responsibility for us to start it and be the leaders of this. If they totally disagree with that, it is okay, we detach ourselves from them. Then personally, His Excellency will handle them with an iron fist. Because this is the most important time of the president's life. This is the last evening where legacy is needed more than anything else. Legacy is needed more than family. Legacy is needed more than power. Because legacy is like a stick that is used in the relay race. If you run as fast as you can and you drop it, even if you finish the race without it, you have been defeated because you only need to handle it to the next successor. So the president's successor has totally to lean on the president's legacy. The survival of NRM will 100% lean on the president's legacy. Minus that legacy, there is no NRM, there is no successor. There is no transfer of power in Uganda. There is no peace, but war and conflict, which may go civil, genocidal, and something of the like. So, Tebohabura is the name I like the most. And I wished he had resurrected it 5 years ago. Oh boy, this is very important. Let us take a look at it and then move forward. It is the finest moment that we really need. It is the finest moment and really very important. Very, very important. So I'm looking towards that. I think, Professor, that is a very important thing. If you can push it forward, it is really very important. We can move with it. I'm certainly very sure. How do you see, Chairman?
Certainly it is okay. Very okay. We can go on with that. The rest can follow. The rest really can follow because His Excellency is taking his last lap. The actual last lap. Therefore, it is a lap of legacy. Development should be very reasonable. The oil fields should start to be very productive. The oil pipelines and the gas pipelines should also be very functional. The airport should be seen moving. In the next 5 years should be the years of legacy. In the case of anything that remains undone, then an extra 5 years would serve a proper purpose as well. That is what I think. Another 5 years. After this coming 5 years, would seal the game and everything would be done and succession will be very, 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 very directed to have a well-defined direction. That is what I think.
Yeah, thank you very much for that observation. So we also need to help our brother. You see, schools are going to start. We have tried to generate markets for him to see that most of that he had procured can be resold and redistributed into the population. So that program is underway. Then we'll also have to address the issues of M.I.S.O, because there is a likely war that is about to start. And if he's not careful enough, he may be targeted by assassins for just that move. That smart robbery, broad day theft of bank money. It is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Not only to the economy, my only prayer is that let all people involved be professional. Because if they go shrewd, that man will be assassinated in any way. Nobody can stand a theft of $50 million, then 100 billion Uganda shillings. That's around 270. Around 270 billion Uganda shillings to be looted. And then in the process of repaying, then somebody asks for the same money with interest, which was paying to service the loan. Yes, much as every business has loopholes, legal loopholes, taking advantage of such, then that can also put all your entire fortune at stake, because even the wealth you have has loopholes which can be challenged, and you lose it like that, especially anything based on land. That is why land conflict is common everywhere. Because the land law has so many loopholes which either side can take advantage of. The grabber and the owner, everybody can take advantage. And the one with the best lawyer and the crafty lawyers, and that one who can refuel, who can reinforce the law using other financial means, can defeat anyone, be it wrong or rightly. Wrongly or rightly, it can happen. So, if such a war starts, the enemies can invest in his downfall, and it cannot take him 3 years before he's totally down and declares himself bankrupt. That was a very wrong button. You cannot fight the entire banking system. You individually, you cannot. It might work. Maybe a funding house should help him very closely and advise, and they put the things right before the sugar-coated tab loses the sugar coating to release the bitter content into the mouth of the one swallowing it. So that is what I observed on that. Really, that issue of Chigundu, it is really a broad day thuggery. Me, I don't commend it at all, and I condemn it with a high degree. It doesn't make sense. Why would a rational person come in to behave that way? It was very irrational. Yes, he had the right to do that because he needed the money. But the first thing would be, the first question would be, before you even go to court to complain of this, if you have challenges with money, talk about it. Sit down and talk about it. But using the law to steal where you consciously know that you picked the wrong. You picked the wrong. Did you pick a wrong? Yes. Now it doesn't matter how you picked the wrong. It is just humane to service the wrong, whichever way. It doesn't matter how the agent managed to raise the money. How the bank tried to raise the money should not be your concern. Your concern should be, are you paying the wrong? And there's no any defaults and no frauds. If you picked the loan and you really consciously know that you picked the loan, why should you play games to avoid paying the loan which you took? And if someone's given a loan by a wrong agent, and therefore whoever's been deducting my money has been taken to the wrong side, has the one you claim to be the right lender, have they complained that they are not getting their installments? So that is what the whole problem is. Really, that is very wrong, and whoever supports Chigundu has no idea the damage is doing to the economy of the country. Totally has no idea. And he's a very young man. He still has a very long way to go. If he's not very careful, he's going to land himself in very hot soup. He will slowly lose that fortune. He's going to be in total setups. And every businessman needs money, because a lot of property, rental property, yes, it speaks volumes about you, but its returns come back in installments, in monthly installments. So that means at one moment you need bigger projects, and these installments cannot raise up the capital. You need a loan. When you rush to money lenders, it is a wrong story. If you run back to the banks, they all turn their backs against you. So what are you going to do here? So those are the things we are really asking ourselves. Chigundu made a mistake. He has to reverse that mistake. He has to go and reconcile with the bank, and he does the needful. If he really didn't have enough money because he's working on several projects, and the rumor has it much of that money belongs to somebody else. What he fought for, what he's trying to drag is what is his money. These are the projects, the villas, the agro-processing enterprises he wants to put up, they belong to somebody else. But at least let his money be very clear. You cannot steal somebody's money. You cannot steal the bank's money. The bank's money is public money. The people will not forgive him. As much as he won that, still the bank is going to put itself okay, and it will reclaim that money at any one moment in time. The $50 million it took, the $100 billion it took, they will be able to reclaim it because they did not verify it, that you never took the money. And he has not serviced the loan. Even the loan he was servicing, it had been cut short. And he has reclaimed the installments that had been servicing the loan, and with interest. Yes, the banker might do all that, but the challenge is at one moment in the near future, the same loan he took is also going to be accumulating interest, plus the conflict, as if it has never been paid for, plus the 80% the bank is going to pay, it will come back and sit on his shoulders in the near future. And come rain, come shine, that loan, he will pay it, and he will pay it with fines and very great loans, and at the end of the day, he will lose it. So this kind of victory is very temporary. It can only go for a shallow-minded person, but anybody who knows that this man took the loan and he did not service it, that is just enough conclusive statement. The rest don't count. If they would count if he was servicing the loan, and then another bank was also demanding for a loan to be serviced. But if DTB Bank was correcting the loan, much as it was illegal, because this is not its area of jurisdiction, and then DTB Uganda was saying, please, you are not paying servicing your loan, it will be a very different story. But this branch has not complained, nobody has complained, and you're servicing a loan you consciously took, and you signed it that you took the loan, and there is no way you have serviced the loan, then it will rain back on you. You cannot take free money and go. Now the problem is that it is going to accumulate a lot of interest and a lot of fines, and it will come back, it will bounce back on him. There is no such an institution in the world which can give up $50 million and $100 billion. That would be a total of around $80 million. There is no such institution you can rob and go and move broad daylight. It is not there. Now he has been running around to get money lenders here and there. And the money lenders are also complaining. Now that you have stolen the bank, what about us? Now they also want to attach his property. And they start to collect loans. So that is a very dangerous situation. I'm looking at it as something very costly and fun. You see, that normally happens. You see some young men, when they acquire a lot of knowledge, they want to use this excessively and ignorantly. He proved to be a very smart person, like any smart lawyer, any smart informed person. But the reality and the natural justice can overcome the craft of man. Man-made laws are not divine laws. They are always in service with a biased motive. If he has taken it today, he will not take it tomorrow. And above all, the divine law still remains. You cannot take something for free. There is totally nothing for free. If he took it and he gained it from court, it is a joke. His flamboyance is going to collapse in a short walk of time. That is the only thing I can say. And when he starts to get, he is only lucky that the fellowship is currently down or engaged in other things. But he would be fought and he would end up in prison. He would end up in prison. But even then, as we move forward, one day, one time, we'll lose more than half of his wealth to servicing that loan. But we put that aside. It may not do so much.
Really, when I read the entire story, it is a very funny thing. And it is likely to chase away several banks. And also acquisition of loans may be very hard because the case he took is the same. He took to court is a practice of all banks across the globe. So he cannot be unique. He cannot be one man against thousands of banks across the world. So at the end of the day, he's going to lose. This is a very temporary victory. And he's going to lose, and he will lose very badly. A lot of fortune will go down with his losses. But we can ignore that for now. So what is the way forward? The week is starting. We need to have a well-defined agenda for the week. So how do we move?
Really, I think we shall have to meet tomorrow and iron out several things. But we have to be very careful with that man, Tamale Mirundi. And we also have to be very careful because His Excellency contacted several people who have been running projects. And they have been telling him the people they suspect to be the spoilers and to be the influencers of corruption, even at the PPDA. Now, he marked us out. He told the officials to report anyone who tries to bribe them or who tries to force them to give a bribe. He has also alerted them to quickly report to Tamale Mirundi people who contact them. I think something like taking their phone numbers to Tamale Mirundi if it can easily be accessed for some work. So at the end of the day, you'll find that there are several things that are happening in this country and around the president that might be our only traps, destruction traps. So we have to be very careful about those things. So I warn you against that man. His Excellency has excessively empowered him, and after ensuring that the fellowship is totally down, it's going to give him a very, very big reward. So we need to be very careful, very, very careful, because there are several projects moving on, several projects. several projects. And they are anti-fellowship. They are countering all our projects. So as we have agreed that we are going to try, let us try. If we fail, it is okay. If we win, then it is better. I also need to talk to Andrew this week. There is a mistake he made, and he's progressing with it, and he's going to catch up with him. And there might be a lot of trouble that may reign down here. So Kaka is gone. And the Charles Oluka has always been a very hard person to approach. He's a very strong and Coptic Catholic. He's very hard to alter. But let us watch closely and see how we handle this. Because we need friends in intelligence. Kandi totally failed us. The man totally wanted to destroy our things completely. Kandi really. His Excellency's man. That one, we can no longer do anything important there. But anyway, let us think of what to do very shortly. I have to rush back. I need to go to my office and do some work there.
Thank you, Professor, for this moment. At least we have shared a number of things. We are going to try to work out several things. We may not have particular conclusions, but I'm certainly very sure we are going to conclude on several other things. But we have to keep on the research because we need more knowledge, we need more basis to enhance our operations, and we ought not to give up. I think that is the best way we can do.
Typically, we can do something also. Regarding preparing the new ideology for the fellowship, we can even change the fellowship into something called an association. You said His Excellency referred to copy something like Vanyankore Kwetarana. Now, I don't want such a thing, because this one is more professional. It is of the educated people. This one has been so much into damage control, robbing, and influence peddling. Kweterana is something very else, something so else from this. It doesn't copy at all. So, we're going to see what to do about this. We want to see what to do about this, and I think we can have something very productive out of it. Me, I concur with His Excellency. Because come rain, come shine. He's sowing his last seed. And will not allow anybody who's going to deter its germination, its growth, its flowering, its fruit bearing. He will fight against anyone, even if he's the closest member of the first family. He's willing to do that. And the mention of all of that is very important. And even the change of name alone is a very powerful signal. We need to understand that. So, just allow that we conclude from here. Let me go and do my research. Very soon, I'm going to call you, Professor, I'm going to call you Chairman, and then we see how we can move on. Because it is the only thing we need to work on for now. Exactly, I should be moving now. There's no reason to turn back. We can only enhance what we have. Our bosses are not going to allow. That one we know, but we should try. Let us try and fail, but we should never fail to try. So that is my position.
Oh, thank you, Professor. So I'm also organizing my meetings, some meetings here. My guests are going to be arriving in about 15 minutes from now. So let us keep together. Let us keep focused. Let us remain very strong people. We shouldn't give up on anything. We adjust accordingly. Remain very productive. Let us align ourselves with the agenda of His Excellency. We support him. Then we can support the next Uganda after President Museveni.